As of July of this year, Israel has gained observer status in the African Union. First of all, what do you make of that development?
First, I think on the basis that of the information that is available, it appears that the chairman of the council unilaterally decided to invite Israel to enjoy observer status without the acceptance of the member countries. That, I think, procedurally is improper. Secondly, I find no merit in Israel enjoying observer status at the African Union. And thirdly, I am puzzled why that is important at all. I do not see any value at all that is added by Israel enjoying observer status at the AU, unless there are certain subterranean political interests which are at play in this particular matter.
So we know that Israel had observer status with the Organization of African Unity, and that, of course, was dissolved in 2002 and replaced with the African Union. So there's a history here of Israel having this sort of role. What is the basis of that role? I understand that there's strong opposition from lots of quarters, but particularly places like South Africa. But what is the argument for why they should be there and have been historically?
I find no argument. From where I sit, remember the history of the Organization of African Unity. If you trace the history of the OAU and its founding in 1963, it was fundamentally a victory of what was called the Monrovia Group. And the Monrovia Group at that time was a grouping of African countries who were seen to have been manipulated by the French regime, led as it then was by Félix Houphouët-Boigny of La Côte d'Ivoire. And that must be seen in contradistinction to the group that was then known as the Casablanca Group, led by Kwame Nkrumah and Ahmed Ben Bella of Algeria. And this is the group that held the view that Africa needs to unite, and that therefore we should have a United States of Africa. The creation of the OAU was therefore a victory of the neo-colonial project, if you may. And when it transitioned to the OAU during the new push led by individuals such as Libya's Muammar al-Gaddafi, it was also a statement that given the history of Israel as a nation that is undermining the interests of the Palestinians, they ought not to find a place at the table of an organization which has a history of the struggle for decolonization. And it's in that context that I want the objection to the presence of Israel at the AU seen.
That's an important point to make, because one of the arguments will be that exclusion of Israel is an act of anti-Semitism, that it is the only Jewish state and it is being denied observer status. And what I'm hearing you say, if I'm correct, is that it's not that the primary reason that Israel should not be a member of or have observer status is because of its treatment of the Palestinian people, and sort of how that contrasts with an organization that is birthed out of an anti-colonial political posture. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And let us be bold about this. We know the history of Israel, but Israel plays the anti-Semitism card too quickly. Even when there are other critical issues at play, there is nothing anti-Semitic in taking the position that you've got to treat other people right if you've got to sit at a table where people are equal partners. That is the argument. Anti-Semitism is a card that is being played to make others have a sense of guilt, and is one that we should reject in this case.
And to be clear, Israel is not the only nation that you would reject having observer status. Many Western European nations would receive similar critique or wariness from you with regard to observer status based on their role in relation to Africa. Is that correct?
I have no doubt that if we had any European nation or any Asian nation, for example, right now, if Indonesia were to say that it wants to enjoy observer status at the AU, we would ask them, how are you treating the Western Samoans? If Myanmar were to ask to enjoy observer status at the AU, we would tell them, how are you treating your Muslim population? So that argument is one that is founded on objectivity and is not founded on other considerations, which people sometimes put on the table simply to give or to impose a sense of guilt and therefore to torpedo objective decisions that may be taken.
Help me understand as a practical matter what this new status would mean for the state of Israel. What benefits, what privileges, what power within the African Union comes from observer status?
There's a sense in which observer status is not properly defined under the instruments of the OAU, but if one goes by practice, it means that Israel would be present and would be eligible to be invited activities of the African Union and to participate on the basis of what is determined from time to time, not only by heads of states and government, but even by the Secretariat. But remember that the AU is also an organization that depends on donor financing. And it's very easy when one enjoys such a status to use the power of the purse to influence processes. And I think that perhaps maybe the subterranean approach that Israel may want to play, knowing as it does that this is an organization which has huge appetite for money that is given by other powers.
Wow, I hope you guys are enjoying this discussion as much as I am. Don't worry, when we come back, we'll hear more from Professor PLO Lumumba as he discusses the African Union's decision not to admit Haiti as a member state. That's coming up next. Welcome back to Black News Tonight. In the second part of his interview, Marc asked Professor Lumumba about the African Union's challenge to maintain a principled stance against Israel on one hand and to desire to benefit from the potential economic and technological benefits Israel would bring to the table. Here's what the Pan-Africanist scholar had to say.
This is part of the argument that is used not only by European countries, the United States of America, and more increasingly China, that because African countries as they are presently constituted, small and in some cases not even viable, need to be helped in different sectors. And this is an argument that has been put forth since countries started regaining their independence. And I hold the view that a more united Africa, an Africa that uses our resources a lot more effectively, is capable of solving most of our problems. I refuse to believe that technologically we must kowtow to Europe and America, that in terms of working on our infrastructure, we must kowtow to Europe and America. I believe that the 1.4 billion of us, if we were coordinated at the African Union under the aegis of the African Union, and if we were to use our resources, I've already said, we are capable of negotiating with these powers from a position of parity. What Europe and America and China progressively does, and that also includes Israel, is to isolate African countries. You go to Benin with a population of 2 million, with a GDP of 11 billion United States dollars, and you tell them, if we don't come into your country, then you are going to die. And that argument is very attractive if you have a myopic view of things and if you have a provincial view of things. So the solution to this is what Kwame Nkrumah said in 1963, that the imperialist does not change its DNA. The imperialist changes its masks. And as long as we remain disunited and divided, they will come back under the guise of investment, however defined. And I think we must now be bold enough to say enough is enough. In any event, these things that Europe and America and China and everybody else calls development, is it really development? Is it really development if you have all these edifices and the people are hungry? What is development, as Mwalimu Nyerere posed in 1967? Is development not the improvement of the circumstances of a people in its totality? We must redefine development, not as handed down to us by the conceptual West and China. We must be able to define development for ourselves.
Let me ask you a question before we go. Haiti was denied member status in 2016. Many of us expected Haiti to be admitted, but it was not. The argument against Haiti was that it was not on the continent of Africa. Of course, that makes the decision to admit Israel even more sort of puzzling. But beyond Israel for a moment, I'm thinking about what it means for Haiti to not be admitted into the AU when the sixth region of the AU has been considered the diaspora. Why not Haiti? It would seem to me that Haiti would benefit as much as it would contribute to the kind of unity, the type of progressive vision, the type of powerful self-determination that you're talking about.
The kind of reasoning that informed the denial of Haiti is what I call jaundiced reasoning. If you've accepted that the diaspora is the sixth region of the African continent, and if you proceed from the premise that the whole idea of Pan-Africanism was actually birthed in the Caribbean, you go to people like Williams of Trinidad and Tobago, you go to people like Marcus Garvey, you go to people like W.B. Du Bois, and you look at those who are in the diaspora, and I'm talking about the Caribbean, including Haiti and including Brazil and Belize and countries of that nature, whose heritage is traceable to African continent, then the argument to deny Haiti the status that you now want to accord Israel is without basis. And understand the AU. The AU, as presently constituted, lacks what I call intellectual true north. True north defined to mean Pan-Africanism as defined and intellectually implemented as conceived by the founding fathers. The AU has become a body that responds to the dictates of a few countries that finance our affairs. Primarily now we know that France does play a very dominant, albeit surreptitious role in the activities of the AU. We also know that China, because of the goodies that it has been able to bring about to the AU, also plays a very subterranean role. The AU will become more independent, a lot more predictable, and a lot more intellectually and practically relevant to African peoples when it cuts the umbilical cord that links her to the neo-colonialists, because the neo-colonial project is alive and well, and is one that the puppeteer to be found in the conceptual West and increasingly in China uses to manipulate the secretariat. And until that is done away with, the OAU will always kowtow to those powers to the detriment of the greater vision of the African peoples.